Good morning, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Ryanico's World. I'm changing some things around as far as a microphone. Hope you like it, and I really enjoy it. So let's see how everything goes. So, first off, with a wonderful prayer. In the Father, Son, Holy Spirit. Amen. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses. Let's do that again. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. Amen. Father, Son, Holy Spirit. Amen. That's what I get for thinking about so many things in my head. Forgot even the Lord's Prayer so easily. So let's continue here. So 7 values to live by. So for anyone that's new to this channel, want to say thank you. Welcome. And also just give you a little quick synopsis how this show goes. So you have, first off, we say a prayer, whether it's Our Father or Hail Mary. Either of those would work, or I'm trying to figure out a better, or not a better way, but another way or other prayers to pray. Just a quick prayer, whether it's pray to St. Michael. There's what I have, a Catholic book of prayers. So we open up always with the prayer, because it's in the morning here, and I like to say thank you, God, for this wonderful day that you give us. And then from there, it's really just news, updates, whether it's the secular news, whether it's Catholic news in the U.S. that unfortunately are not shown in the public eye. So I bring those to life and talk about that and give my Catholic view on it. I am a Catholic, very proud Roman Catholic, and I want to share more. And my point of view is really just there is an attack on the Catholic Church. There's an attack on Christianity as well, but specifically within the Catholic Church as well, because I believe that is the true Christian church. It just is. And people say, what denomination are you? You probably heard that a lot. And there's so many denominations. We are the pre-denomination. We were the first ones. And that's how it is. So when you have that rich and consistent history, we don't budge on things. Not because we don't see the times or the new times of the world, but this is what God created. So we have to follow that. So we don't follow the trends, and when I say trends, I'm not talking about trends that can, about fashion. I'm talking about trends of values, social values that might come up in, 100 or 2 or even 300 years. But we're talking about over 2,000 years, this religious institution, people would say, I call it religious faith, has been here on earth. So the longest anything you could think of, 2,000 years. There's I may be saying this wrong, the West or the East India Company has been around since a long time, but not 2,000 years. Maybe 1,000, but definitely not 2,000 years. So, and that's one of the oldest companies. So let's get going. But yeah, just so you know, as far as what you can expect is if this is your first time watching this and this channel. So thank you very much for taking your time. It lasts about 45 minutes to an hour, just depends on, I do this in the morning. My family, I'm a husband, I'm a father of 2, and our 2 beautiful kids are sleeping right now along with my wife. She gets up a little earlier than the kids, and I get up a little bit earlier than them, and just do this channel because it motivates me. And at the same time, I'm spreading good news and the truth, essentially, that unfortunately sometimes as Catholics we don't hear about these things. And then also I talk about business news because I am a big business guy. I have a small business myself, not very big, but I sell custom suits. So as you can see, I love dressing up. and I love learning about the idea of dressing up as a gentleman, because that's going away as well. The casual part is coming in. So we will start that up again, hopefully, and like to share it by dressing elegantly. And I really have no purpose to do it other than having a purpose in life and feeling good about myself. Also, I work for Lyft, so I tell about Lyft stories essentially. And as I'm transitioning little by little into my small business, once I bring enough revenue to surpass my income from Lyft, I easily transform into that. So pray for me as I go through this journey, and I want to share it with everyone. And again, with just a Catholic view on everything. So we talk about stocks, we talk about business, we talk about familyhood, we'll talk about manhood, we're talking about being a father. All those topics I love to talk about, and I'll share it with you. And I have a process how everything goes. So if you like it, do a thumbs up, and hopefully everything that you enjoy for this hour. So let's get going. So I picked up this book. If you haven't seen my past episodes, I picked up this book when I went to go get confession, and 7 values to live by. But first, cheers. Good coffee. Hot coffee, but very good. So there are 7 values. I think there's 7. 7. And 1 is integrity, doing the right thing, we talked about yesterday. Number 2 is courage. So let's talk about courage. When I think of courage, I think of the what is that called? Wow. The Wizard of Oz, that movie. Courage. I have courage. So, courage is the strength to do what is right, regardless of consequences. Bravery, pluck, nerve. You have the nerve. So, as a Catholic, and it's crazy because apparently there is about 30% of Catholics in the U.S. 30%. But I'll tell you what, almost 100%, almost, so 99%, and that's a big percent. I don't know if you know that, but yeah, it's a big percent of those Catholics. Well, I'll give the benefit of the doubt. Let's just say 70%. 70% of that 30% of the U.S. Catholics in the U.S. don't believe abortion is wrong. So there's a divide. And also 30%, or of those 30%, 30% of them don't believe that the Eucharist is the body, soul, and divinity. Body, blood, soul, and divinity of Christ. That's the main reason for Catholicism. If you look at other sects or other denominations of Christianity, non-Catholics within the Christianity church, a lot of them don't believe that the Eucharist is real, is purely Jesus. You can't get any closer to Jesus other than consuming his body, blood, soul, and divinity. You just can't. So it's pretty crazy how only 30% of U.S. Catholics believe, or only 70%, so not all, but 30% is a big number. 30% of U.S. Catholics don't believe in that. So it is crazy. You definitely have to look at that, and doing, regardless of the consequences, doing what is right. So telling people, even Catholics now, that if you believe in abortion, if you believe that, or if you don't believe that the Eucharist is real, is Jesus in his flesh, then we have to say you're wrong. It's simple. But it takes bravery, because if I were to say it to anyone, I know I'll get slapped in the face. And the only one that can slap me is my wife. So, living right requires courage. We need courage to get us through a disaster. We need to call upon courage to keep us going when the going gets tough. We need courage to face the unknown. That's the biggest thing, facing the unknown. If you want to talk about abortion, and I'm big on talking about abortion because that's killing people. And I read a statistic earlier about 30% or 32, I think, 32% of black women of everyone or all the abortions in 2019 or 2018. I have to look it up, but 32% of those abortions came from black women. And did you know last year there were more black babies aborted than born? I'll say that again. More than in 2019, more black babies have been killed, or AKA aborted, than born, than being alive. It's unbelievable. It's crazy. And you talk about Black Lives Matter, you don't care about that. And I know, believe me, I know so many people say, well, it's not about that, it's about police brutality. Yes. But when you have a name like that, you're going to get criticized if you don't care about all black lives. It's as simple as that. So you have to understand that you have to look at the whole spectrum. Not just, if you're picking only just certain kinds of black people. Jericho Green, if you guys ever heard of him on his channel, shout out to Jericho Green. I always listen to his channel. Great guy, has like 160,000 followers or even more probably now. And it's weird because I haven't seen his videos in a good month now, and he used to do it every day. So I'm curious if he got knocked off by YouTube. And again, these big tech companies, they got the power right now. So I might get taken off soon here too by just telling the truth. I don't cuss. I don't say bad things about people. I just say the truth with love and compassion. But the algorithms that have been put in by us humans, and you definitely know we're biased to each side, and we all know that the big tech companies lean more to the left. So it's only natural that bias will come in. So, and I don't know about you, but Google is pretty darn powerful. Facebook is pretty darn powerful. So it's very sad. It's very sad you have to go through this, but we'll fight it. The cool thing about it is we've been through this before. Not us personally, but our brothers and sisters, our ancestors have been through this. Through the 1200s, to the even 500s, when the Roman Empire killed most of the Christians back then. And look, 2,000 years later, we're still strong. Our president believes in God. So you're darn right, we'll always win. That's the cool thing about Christianity. It will always come about because it's the truth. We'll have ups and downs, heck yeah, tribulations. But I bet your red scarf that God will always prevail. So let's continue reading that. Fortunately, we have constant access to a never-ending source of courage. We receive courage from God because it is of the Spirit. Courage is a sense of God's presence when we hear Him say, I am with you always. So talk about courage, and about 2 days ago, exactly 2 days ago, again, I'm a Lyft driver. I picked up a lady from the hospital and going to her house. I was taking her to her house. Got in, we started chatting. I'm like, oh, is everything all right? And she said, yeah, I'm just visiting my baby that was just born. And I'm like, I was like, if I may ask, why aren't you taking her home? And she said, no, she was premature. But guess how much? So average pregnancy is 39, or the full term pregnancy is 39 or 40 weeks. Guess what week she was born, the little girl. And her hand was probably no bigger than mine, and she said it was from her hand all the way up to the end, a little past her paw. So a baby that small, her whole body. So her head was probably this big. Look how big my head is. Her head was this big, and her arms were like this big. It's unbelievable. I know, and I'm short. I'm 5'4". I'm a pretty short man. Don't you hold that against me. So I guess what week she was born. So 40 weeks is full term. 39 to 40 weeks. She was born at 27. 27. She was born in May, and her due date was August. The end of May, and then in the middle of August she was born. She was her due date. She was born at the end of May. And we're now into the end of July, almost August, and she still is breathing and everything. But thank God. She says she's a lot better. She was born 2 pounds. 2 pounds. That's like 4 apples. Have you ever held 4 apples? And maybe even less than 4 apples. Maybe 3. Maybe 2. But she was so small when she was born. And it was beautiful because she survived 31 weeks. So that's a little bit more than halfway through. And the lady, the mother, she had some medical issues, so they had to induce her. They had to bring the baby out before the baby was harmed. And I'm sorry, I don't remember, she mentioned, I don't want to say cancer, but she had some issue. She said the medical term, and just like me sometimes as a flawed human, I didn't pay attention to that part, but that's why she had to have the baby sooner, a lot sooner. And the baby survived. So 2 things about courage. She was scared. She said, I was praying, but I cried more. She said, and something inside of her, that unlimited amount of courage that only you get from God, came to her. And she went through it. It's already been 2 months, and they had to do a C-section, and the baby was on a ventilator, everything hooked up, and she's doing better now, she said. So now it's just a regular visit, and she's just waiting until, they said they want to wait until the due date in August, in the middle of August, to actually let her go, just to be on the safe side, they said. But she's up and running, not physically, but hypothetically, that she's doing that. She's doing better medically, and it's unbelievable. And I think she's about 6 pounds, she says, now. So it's a beautiful thing. And it's a miracle. She says it's a miracle. Her husband was scared as well. They didn't know what to do, and now it's a lot different. It's a big different situation. So, and that's the other thing, is she could have easily aborted it. She could have easily aborted it. She did not, have to care about this baby. And she said it was a burden to her. She was so honest with me. It was so cool. It was a good 30-minute ride, so we had some time to chat. And yeah, she's going through all this stuff. I could imagine, $30 is probably like $60, $70, about $60 ride there and back. So $120 just to see her child, and she's still doing it during this pandemic time. And she said she's just getting by with work. And she had to go back to work, she said, and after a C-section. So it's crazy how these things happen. And she's a black lady, a young black lady, 31 years old. She could have easily said, I cannot afford this. But she still did it. So it's not a coincidence. And she's married, and her husband's there. So it's not a coincidence how, if you get married, how much bond, how much courage comes from it. So it could get you ready to have a child. And it's just, that's how it is. Again, this is a free world, so it doesn't happen a lot like that. Definitely not in today's world. But when it does, it's beautiful. And even if it doesn't, you still have that courage. God still gives you that courage. So man, I love this book. So that's the beautiful thing. She also said this. So I talked about Joe Rogan in my last episode, how him and Ben Shapiro talked about how you can't get out of this crime-infested cities like your LAs, your Chicagos, your Philadelphias, your Detroits. If you were born and raised from this whole crazy gunshot world and you see it all the time, dead people, it's really hard to get out of it. And Ben Shapiro kind of disagreed with him. And I totally disagree with Joe Rogan, because there, and I said this in one of my episodes about how I just disagree. There's always a chance. I understand that you are 10 feet behind, but you still can run the race, if you will, or you still can fight for it. And the same woman I told you about, the child with the premature baby at 13 weeks premature, she said, she was from Chicago, and her husband's from Chicago. He said south and west. I forgot which one was from where, but one was from south in Chicago, the other one was from west Chicago. And they said they witnessed crime all the time. And especially Cicero, she said. Yeah, Cicero. There's this bad area, and I think Cicero, she mentioned a lot of the Latinos or just more Mexicans, I could imagine, in Chicago. And more of them in that area, but it's like a territory. She said even Jewish people, this is a territory for Jewish people, and she heard so many gunshots throughout life, and she got out. So I asked her, I'm like, if I may ask, not to pray or not to barge into your personal life, but if I may ask, how'd you get out? Because there's a narrative going on that you technically cannot get out. And she said this. She said, you could. You just choose not to. There are just some people that like that stuff, not being forced into it. So they have a decision, she said, but they choose to stay because they just like violence. And that is wrong. Now you're switching from being a victim to being a criminal. When you like doing these things, and yes, a devil's advocate would say, well, because they were raised up on this. No. She said the majority of people are leaving, and those people are just tired of it. You just get to a point where you're tired of it. So there's more people that are just tired of it compared to the people that like it. That's why that small amount of people stay compared to the Chicagoans that leave. And same thing California. California does it more for taxes, what I've heard, why people leave. But homelessness as well. It's just the city is not clean, and the city just doesn't care. The officials and everything, the government side of it. Same thing with Chicago. They just don't care about the gangs, and the gangs are always going to stay. So the people are leaving. The good people are leaving. So don't tell me that you cannot get out of there. You will just get tired of it, and you will. And she was one example. She traveled from Chicago to Texas. She moved from Chicago to Texas. So to me, everyone has a choice. Last time I checked, there's no borders from Chicago to Ohio to Indiana, or in Illinois to Indiana, Indiana to Ohio, or Chicago to Texas. There's no checkpoints that the government's going to watch you like there are in Mexico. So you have the choice to move. It's just whether you do it or not. And the people who can't because they're already tied to the gangs and they'll get killed if they do, I'm sorry. You made that decision. So you really have to think about before you go too deep into it. That's the choice you can make. And no one's forcing you at that point. Even gang members aren't forcing you. They're trying to convince you, but you still have the choice. But until you get broken in there, and I don't know how it is now, but you normally get beat up. Maybe it's even worse now, but the initiation, before you do that, you have nothing dedicated, or you have to honor yourself to that gang. You don't. You're free as a bird. So when you do that initiation, whole different story. So I'm telling you that before then, or even after, you can still leave. You may have a target on your back, but who cares? You always have your target on your back when you live there, when you are in that life. So what do you got to lose? What do you got to lose? So for anyone who's seen violence, don't think that you have to deal with it. Come anywhere. Come to Texas. We'll welcome you with open arms. Believe me, my neighbors are pretty nice here. So it's crazy. So let's continue reading. Well, I'll read the rest of it because it's about another page or two. So let me read the last part of this page. Second act, courageously. Act courageously. That's the second. We usually receive according to the way we act. Oh, no. I skipped a paragraph. So here are 3 things you can do to develop courage. Nice. So first, think courage. There's a theory called the law of attraction, which is the belief that like energy attracts like energy. If you practice thoughts of courage, courage will flow to you. If your thoughts of courage are deep and strong, the courage you feel will be deep and strong. Second, act courageously. We usually receive according to the way we act. Act courageously and courage will follow. And third, pray for courage. God will give it to you because He will give you Himself. Let Him tell you about a woman whose great courage amazed me and also inspired me many books, as well as the Ingrid Bergman movie. I have to look that one up. The Inn of the Sixth Happiness, Gladys Aylward was a petite British woman. Well, I'll finish that because that's part of the other paragraph. But you can do that. I'm big on talking about the damages pornography has. So those 3 steps: think about it, do it, and pray about it. So if you're encouraged to, encouraged. I never even thought about that. I know what encourage means. It motivates you. It gets you going. But it comes from the word courage. I'm not no scientist, but it might be. But yeah, so whenever you feel encouraged to masturbate, and some men don't even need pornography to masturbate. They can masturbate in the bathrooms. They can masturbate in the showers. There's so many different ways that you can do that when you're alone. And it's very sad because you have all the information in your head already from watching porn already. So we don't need it. And it's very sad. We get lonely. There was this Joe Rogan show, or Joe Rogan episode, where it talked about him, Joe Rogan, and there's another guy, I forgot his name, but he just type in Joe Rogan and it's under JRE clips, Joe Rogan Experience clips, and it talked about how Joe Rogan and there's another guy, I think the title says Joe Rogan and then says the addiction of pornography. Just type in Joe Rogan addiction of pornography, you'll find it on YouTube. And the guy admitted it. He was like, I cannot watch porn. Not because I don't want to, it's because I can't. It really ruins my life with others, especially my sexual life. So you don't feel nothing because you have this fantasy already that someone can do already better than you. And when you do the real thing, you just don't live up to it and you just don't do it. And you're not happy with that person. You think of another one. That's what I was been saying from the very beginning. And I'm not even a player guy that has many women. It's just common sense. We just like it so much that we don't say the truth about it. And Joe Rogan went off and tried to talk about something else, but I think he would never admit that. He's 52 years old, and even that is a young age. So he still got time, and only he can change. But I can easily say my opinion on this because it harms you. It harms your body, harms your soul, harms your respect towards women. And women don't need that. And then women are doing it now because for some reason throughout the decades they want to follow like men. They don't want to say men are wrong. They just want to be like men. So it's the standard now. So it's crazy. Double the amount of people are doing bad things now. First it was men, now it's men and women. So it's very sad, it's very horrible. But going back to courage, you have the courage to say no. Believe me, I have temptation to masturbate every day. Every day. It's a constant battle. The only thing that can help me is literally, Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with thee. The Hail Mary prayer. And it's only less than 20 seconds? And for some reason, 100% of the time, kind of like my friend Ron Burgundy, 100% of the time, it works every time. So 60% of the time, it works every time. It works every time that you say a prayer. It's no coincidence. At first, I felt it was coincidental because how can I not think of a bad sexual act that I know will harm me and my family and my wife and everyone when I say Hail Mary? How is that possible? But it works every time. And now I know why. It's not coincidental. It's God. God is not about that. So it's amazing how courage will put you bad, or if you think about good courage, which comes from God, always comes from God, or the distort courage, what evil pushes you to do. So it's a constant spiritual battle, and just be aware of it, because pornography is not happy at all. Those people, I don't care what they say, they only live a portion of their lives. It will come back to haunt them. It just will. And again, it's just, that's what God allows. God allows free will. So we'll keep on that good book. I want to do the Catholic Saint of the Day. And I have this book. I bought it, I think, in Waco, but I love this. And I bought it, and I want to give this to my son one day. And they have the evening prayers. Just so many cool prayers that they have. So we'll look at that. But first, let's go into the Catholic news. Let's see here. And I use EWTN. If you don't know about it, look it up. Relevant Radio is another Catholic radio station, but also an app. Look either one of those up in the app, in your app store. EWTN, Eternal World Television Network. So it's EWTN or Relevant Radio. Relevant and then radio. Then I'm at EWTN News, Catholic News, or U.S. Catholic News. They have the World News. They have Vatican News. There's so much news that does not get put on the public or the mainstream media. So that's why I'm here. July 30th, bishops call for prayers for victims on World Day Against Human Trafficking. That's another thing that the U.S. doesn't care about, because it makes a lot of money of human trafficking. A lot. So not only the exchange, the transaction of it, is the aftermath. What do? They fuel the prostitution world. They fuel the work slave business, and just the illegal business, illegal labor business. And some bad companies like that, because they don't have to pay taxes. Less money and more profit. If you have less taxes to pay, you have more profit. So it's pretty sick, human trafficking, why it exists today. And again, it's the ambition of money. It's the ambition of money. That's what it is. It all comes down to it. So the CNA, the U.S. bishops have urged Catholics to pray for the victims of human trafficking Thursday, as the United Nations again designated July 30th as World Day Against Trafficking in Persons. Today we take a moment to pray for all victims and survivors of human trafficking, and to reflect upon your responsibilities as individuals and the Church to make their well-being and protection a priority. Bishop Mario Dorsonville, an auxiliary bishop of Washington, and a chairman of the USCCB's Committee on Migration. So we are renewing our call to educating about human trafficking and proclaiming the value of all human life. Again, how can you talk about human life if we do abortions on a daily level? So it's unbelievable. They don't care. A lot of people in today's world don't look down on prison inmates, even the prisoners that came, ex-cons. So we really don't care, and it's sad. You have to think about it in all levels. Homeless people. We pass by homeless people all the time. I pass by homeless people all the time when I do Lyft on the corners there. Some I give money to, but some I don't. It's about 30-70. So 70% of the time I don't give them money. 30% of the time I do. And so I have to improve as well. It doesn't matter if it's $1. I'm telling you, they wouldn't be doing that if they have another job. So something's going on in their lives. And I'm not here to judge, right? People say, oh, I can't speak the truth because I'm judging. We're judging people already by saying, oh, we're judging that homeless person. We're making a whole image of them to make us feel better, to not give them money. We're judging them. Maybe they just need money because they have a drug problem. Or maybe they just don't know what to do. We're judging them. So next one is pro-life. Nice. As you can see, I'm pro-life. Pro-life movement needs humility and consistency on racism. By Matt Hadra. And what is this here? State Senator Katrina Jackson. So, Washington, D.C. newsroom from the CNA, Catholic News Agency. Black pro-life leader spoke during an event Tuesday about the need for the pro-life movement to become more consistent and less political on the problem of racism in order to advance the cause of life. The online panel, Racism is a Life Issue, was hosted by the University of Notre Dame's Dan Nicola Center for Ethics and Culture and co-sponsored by the university's law school, Mendoza College of Business, College of Arts and Letters, and the Right to Life. So this is where, even though it's on Catholic news, I have to first off disagree. Because, again, take into account everything. There's the TFP, the Tradition Family Property channel. Look it up. It's really cool. It's a Catholic order of gentlemen, mostly gentlemen. And they go out all over the country with the caravan, with their own van, and they are praying the rosary to end abortion. So we want to talk about soldiers on the ground. They are spiritual soldiers on the ground. They get spit on, they get cussed at, they get pushed, they get their instruments broken, the musical instruments broken by people, and they don't do nothing but pray for them. That's powerful. So I will take their word over any university, and we all know that universities, and they actually uncovered many of it. And it's not because they were trying to do it. They just went to University of Notre Dame. They went to Georgetown. All these so-called Catholic universities. And this is a dangerous part too. Nobody thinks about it. We just think outside the box, or we just think from outside of it and say, oh, it's a Catholic university, Notre Dame. It's a beautiful... You don't know how left-wing it is now. Go to it. I'm telling you. They have, and they put it on YouTube, and you can see it. That's how I saw it. And the majority of people there hated them to talk about abortion. They hated them. They spit on them. And these are Catholic universities. So I'm sorry, but I have to look at this with a grain of salt, because when they talk about political, it has nothing to do with political. The true Catholic Church doesn't talk about as this as a political issue. Remember what we said. The Catholic Church, God itself, himself, doesn't look at us as color. We are his children. That's it. Doesn't say we are his Mexican children or we are his black children. We made that up. He made this beautiful thing to make us all different but all alike. And somehow we distort that. So, and for her saying this, what is it? The Senator Katrina Jackson, they're making it political. Not the pro-life movement itself. So it's, like my brother-in-law would say, don't get it twisted. Don't get it twisted. So speaking at the event, Louisiana State Senator Katrina Jackson, who's a Democrat, who drafted state abortion legislation which passed with bipartisan support before being struck down by the Supreme Court earlier this month, said that pro-life advocates had alienated potential supports by treating life as a party political issue. Women need to be supported if they're making a tough decision to carry a child. Oh, yep. Jackson said, yet pro-life legislators often oppose policies that could help these women, such as expand... Oh, okay. I was about to say, normally, remember, CNA is biased in a good way. They're Catholic agencies, so again, we have to call a spade, and I'm okay with that. Just how Fox News, they openly say they're against Democrats. I'm okay with that. Same thing, well, not the same thing. I give more respect to MSNBC, although they don't say it, but you can see clearly that they hate the Republican Party. But CNN, what a coincidence, they have more views, but they don't say publicly that they are for one. They just act like it. And that's sneaky. You sneaky boy, you. So that's why I don't believe. I'll have more respect for them if they openly say, okay, we're against Democrats, or we're against Republicans, we're all for Democrats, and let's call it what it is. I would say, okay, there's my Democratic news. I'll go to watch it when I want to know about Democratic news, because I know you guys are biased. That's actually a good thing. But when you're lying to us and say you're not, and say fair, that is why I don't watch you. And that is why I only read about you, so I still get information from you. So it sucks no matter what. But I know now what agenda you're pushing. Simple as that. But I have no respect for you, CNN, or any other left wing that doesn't declare themselves as a left wing. And that's why people respect Fox News, because we know what we're getting. Just say the truth. That's it. So this is already crazy. It's not political. You're making it political. You're trying to change the agenda, helping women. You know how many other clinics around the world, even around the U.S. here specifically, that can do what Planned Parenthood does? But why do they get funding? Oh, because the majority of their procedures are abortions. And abortions, you take this fetus, what people have been convinced that is just a lump of cells, but you never ask what happens to it afterwards. What do they do with this lump of cells? You think they throw it away? No. This is medical gold. They do research on it. There's an agenda to keep this. So don't get it twisted that they care about you. They want your baby. They want it. And they are charging you to do it. You're not even donating it. You're paying for it. Typically about $500. So it's unbelievable how it's convinced like that most of the world. And if you want to talk about racism, I mentioned it before from the beginning of the episode here. There have been more black babies aborted, aka killed, taken away, whatever you call it. Hasta la vista baby, whatever, than being born. There's been more black babies being killed than being born here. So if you want to talk about racism and the strength are in numbers, you know, the Golden State Warriors quoted that, strength in numbers as the slogan. And it's true. People know that. It is strength in numbers. So how do you take away those numbers? By killing them. How do we kill them? We can't say we kill them. Let's make they're strong on women. Let's talk about for women's rights. Boom. It's a perfect recipe to take away the black race. So that's why I'm against that. Let alone all the other reasons. How it's anti-woman, anti-black woman. So it's unbelievable. Please pray for everyone who is considering abortion. And here in Texas, I'm proud of living in Texas because they're fighting it. There is pro-life legislators here. And give me a break when you say, oh, don't make it a political issue. You have to make it a political stance, not an issue. We talk about in our personal lives, but to change, it goes by law. That's law 101. So we care about just more of our beliefs we want for others. We care about others. How do we do that? Is by our representatives. Our what do you call it? I'm not a big lawyer guy, so I don't know the terms, but your political representatives, your congresspeople. So that's crazy. Thank you for sharing that, EWTN. And federal housing rule change itself, defeating Catholic leaders warn. Federal housing. So changes to federal aid housing rules undermine the government's responsibility to guide efforts to overcome the legacy of racial discrimination and economic segregation. Fair housing, and that's what the U.S. Bishop said Tuesday. Fair housing regulations remain one of the key tools for addressing long-standing inequities. Before it's inequalities, now it's inequities. So equities, literally, we use that in the investment world. Equities are ownership. You own it. You have equity in the home. So you're saying we should all have the same house? We should all have the same bank account? No. God has given us one reason. To work. Men to work and women to bear children. That's the pain that we have to do, and that came from Adam and Eve. So we have to work by definition. If you don't, then you hate God. It's just simple. And they have systems set up in the modern world where you don't have to work. You can play the system, and that's real wrong too. So the statement responded to U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development decision to replace the affirmatively furthering fair housing rule with the new rule that will have less regulation. Okay, the HUD's replacement of the affirmatively furthering fair housing rule undermines efforts to promote fair housing and human dignity. Discriminatory practices such as redlining and disinvestment from communities, discriminatory practices in selling or renting homes, and racial and economic segregation have undermined fair housing for generations and continue to harm communities of color today. That's happening now with that rule. They're talking about segregation. They're putting blacks and Mexicans all in this little section. If you don't believe it, go to any low-income area, and they do it. The business-wise, too. They have a liquor store. They have a Cricket. They have a PC Mobile, or what is that called? PCS Mobile, I think it's called. All these low-graded companies. You have, don't get me started how many loan places, your cash loan places that charge you 400%. A normal credit card charges you 24%, and then these loan places are charging 400%. So if you take out $100, you owe them $400. Not like a regular credit card is 24% on average, or it's 18% on average, but 24 is the max. So instead of $124 you pay on a credit card that you cannot get, and my point of view on the credit card world is discriminatory. But we can't talk about it because, we can't equate racism to classism, which I believe. Classism has to do with money. That's it. And if you don't have the money, you cannot go to the party. So none of this racism stuff. It's about having money or not having money. That's all they do. There are poor white people. There are poor black people. There are poor Mexican people. That's it. And you wonder why there's more black homelessness and more Mexican homelessness, because we get feed this victimhood feeling. So it's just more. But don't get it twisted. Do not get confused how classism knows no color. It's all about money. And that's what it is. I've just been doing it for centuries because money, greed is a sin. It just is. So all this stuff is continue happening, will happen, have happened because of that. And we'll never address the money issue. How do you make money? By working. All these things that make you feel like, you don't have to have a baby because you do other things or you want to pursue a career. Don't even get me started on college. I'm a college graduate and I do not believe in the idea of college. It took me 8 years to realize that. Use that money, start a business. I'm sure you got an idea in your head that could be a profitable idea. Do it. So there's a longer answer, longer opinion about that. But overall, to get back to just the idea of what it is about the housing and everything, it will always be discriminatory. It will always be. So you can't depend on that. You have to work. The best way to do it is to work, to get out of it. To say you're not a victim, that you're going to do it. Again, I mentioned so many times in my episodes that we do it every day for sports. We do it every day for business, for starting a business, for going to school, which I don't like. But or going to college, we do all that. We have all these barriers against us, but we're still going to survive. We're still going to fight it. We're tired. We got to run a couple more. We got to finish the game out. Continue. Keep going. Fight for it. And we don't do it in our lives, in our economic, personal lives, which are the most important aspect of our beings. So that has to change. It just has to change. So let's go to the Apple News. Swipe over there. You know how to do it if you have an iPhone. Swipe to your left. And Bloomberg, for the top stories, virus death toll hits 150,000, even as new U.S. cases plateau. So now they're talking about death once the U.S. cases plateau. So it's the level of craziness that they continue. So let's talk about the rise of cases. But once that plateaus, meaning it stops, it reaches its ceiling, essentially, its peak. Now they're talking about the deaths. And 150,000, I don't know about you, but that was pretty close to the number a good couple weeks ago. So it hasn't changed a lot. There have been deaths, yes, but not enough for the CNNs of the world to talk about because it's minuscule. But now they're talking about that, how it could be rising. says hits, and it says hits 150,000. So look at it with a grain of salt. Again, I would like to believe you guys, but you're giving us so much proof to not believe in you. That's what's crazy about it. I do not like CNN and MSNBC and ABC, CBS, all of them, not because I have this pure hate for you. No, it just doesn't happen like that. I just don't wake up one morning and hate you guys. You guys feed us this information. We're smart people. You may think we're dumb, but we're smart people. We will figure out when a bad thing is a bad thing and a good thing is a good thing. We will do that. We will figure that out. So you're just giving us fuel to not like you so much. And that's where I'm at right now. So, and let's see what else. Why Trump might quit. Politico talks about why Trump might quit. Oh my gosh. Remember this if he wins November, which is a high possibility because it all looks like the same thing as 2016. Everyone hates Trump. There's no way that he's going to do it. They're dumping on him, throwing so many curveballs. And apparently Joe Biden hasn't picked a running mate in only, 3 months, August, September, October, November, almost 3 months away from election. He hasn't picked a running mate. And he hasn't done any events, not even viral or not even virtually. And he's above the polls. Like so quote unquote polls, and we know about those polls. I don't know if you guys remember Men in Tights, Robin Hood. If we don't get no tolls, we don't get no rolls. But those polls are such liars, and we believe that it took us so many decades to realize that they are lying to us when a person of opposition comes into office. That's what happens. That's how they took the curtain. They open up the curtain basically, and see what's behind it. When 2016, remember when up until the same day, a few hours before they started the countdown or the race that Tuesday afternoon, by like at 3 or 4 o'clock, they showed polls that Clinton was like 95% chance of becoming a president. The polls said that. And it dwindled down little by little throughout the night when they started counting the votes. It's hilarious. So give me a break. I don't care. And then what's worse, I just don't care about these polls. I look at the reality, and I felt that too. But even I got stuck into it. Even I got convinced. I remember taking a shower that afternoon. I'm like, you know what? I voted for him. I did my due diligence as an American, and we'll see what happens. But even I got convinced by these CNNs of the world. And it wasn't too long ago, 2016. And I was like, you know what? All right. Show's over. Clinton's going to win. Like, she's the more realistic one. Even though he dogged her on all these things, even though I see more. I've been watching them, too. Those rallies online. Thank God YouTube didn't ban that. They might ban it now, because they know how powerful he is, but they all underestimate him because they put a little bit of this power that they have. But now they're just putting on full gear and throwing all the bricks at us. They're banning little videos that they can deem as hate speech, everything. So it's crazy. So connecting us with the KKK, which is so dumb. All these things are pushing at us. But yeah, even at 2016 election, I was like, okay, even though I saw these huge crowds, everything by the thousands, hearing little by little, just chatting with people, seeing Trump hats, I'm like, wait a minute, what? This doesn't make sense, because CNN tells us he's 3% chance winning. Like, I don't understand this. And I believe in the polls, because apparently that comes out of nowhere, but we believe it. We believe in that, but we don't believe in Jesus Christ telling us that we would have eternal life if we follow 10 commandments. But we trust the polls. And now they even have Biden up, but not 95%. It's like he's up by like 20 or 30 points. I think, like 60 or 70% to 30. So they're even giving him more of a percent, Trump. So they're actually giving more credit right now. But I do not care about none of that, because all I care about are the votes. That's it. And I truly think he's going to win. Before I felt like he was going to win about a year ago, I knew, yeah, he's going to win. But now again, that those CNNs of the world, these people now, these big rioters, who knows? Everyone's literally going to the left. But again, maybe not the important people that make change go to the left. The majority of us, the silent majority. I felt like a silent majority. Even now, I put a sign, a Trump Pence sign, outdoor sign. Someone took it from our yard in front of our house. So, and I'm not going to fight with them because I have my family and I understand the craziness that people would go to politically. They wouldn't fight for their God, but they'll fight for their political view. So I don't put it on. But it makes you think, people who pass it, who do vote for Trump, and they're going to see it because it's been up for about 2 weeks before it was taken down by someone. And they don't have the courage to tell us politely, say, I don't like this. I have more respect for them if they come to my door, respectfully knock on my door and say, let's have a conversation because I totally disagree with you. And I'm okay with them trying to change my mind. Let's talk. But by deliberately doing that, you know it's a sign of hate, of rage, and I don't deal with that. It's not worth it. I'll fight for my religion, but not for political issues. I fight with my vote. That's how I fight. So it's pointless, and that's why we're the silent majority. The majority of us voted for Trump who were silent. That's why all these polls were wrong. It's just simple. So don't go with the polls. Don't follow what they say. Just vote on your conscience, and that's it. And I want to click on why Trump might quit. That just sounds hilarious, by Politico. And they have his picture like like he's bowing down, like he's tapping out. Oh, that's hilarious. So the purpose of the nationally televised Oval Office address was to announce new peace initiatives in Vietnam. But Lyndon B. Johnson saved the most startling news until the end of his speech on March 31st, 1968. With his country badly divided over a grinding war, he didn't believe as president he should devote an hour or a day of my time to any personal partisan issues. He was dropping out of the presidential campaign. Now there was a president who knew how to shake up the plot. Now, there was a president. So, among Donald Trump, so he compared Lyndon B. Johnson to Donald Trump. Okay. So, among Donald Trump's problems in his long, hot, and mostly housebound summer, in that he has lost his once unparalleled gift for changing the story. He still can stir outrage, but even among his supporters, he no longer has much capacity to surprise. So, I don't know about Politico, if it's a right wing, a left wing, or in the middle, don't know. But now they're speaking on behalf of his voters. Oh my gosh. Every hero, wrote Ralph Waldo Emerson a century before the president was born, becomes bore at last. But here is a way Trump could demonstrate that an old master still knows how to tear up. An old master? Oh my gosh, tear up the script and leave the audience gasping. It is late, but not too late to pull a LBJ. Wow. As it happens to Trump, so it's late, but not too late. So, wow. Is one I have trafficked it to colleagues and sources for a couple years now, usually to dismissive grunts or quizzical stares. It is true that there is a scant time left for the scenario to come to pass. So they are dreaming about it. It's the ultimate dream for him to quit. He ain't quitting. So all this stuff is just unbelievable. Again, just more news, crazy stuff about it. I could continue on, but you know where it goes. They're going to talk about how he's not fit for it. It's the same stuff over and over. Been hearing it ever since 2015, once he walked down that aisle or that escalator. So it's the same stuff. And I don't even have to repeat it, and you know what it is. So I just want to see the updates. They're still talking bad about him. What else? Like, you throw the whole wrench set at him. What else do you do? You just hope and pray, but they rarely pray a lot. You have more non-religion people on the left than religion people. So I want to do Saint of the Day, but before that, let's do the stock market, see what the business world talks about. Let me just skim through it to see the political one, just to make sure if I'm not missing anything. Oh, the Trump dropout scenario hinges on the assumption that Trump is less concerned with wielding the levers of government than he is preserving his role as disruptor at large. So they're saying he's a disruptor, so not a president, disruptor, or a person that drops out. The latter might be much easier to maintain if he avoids being tattooed as a loser in November, especially if the margin is larger. So they think he's going to tap out because he's afraid of calling himself a loser. Man, that was their twist. So he might quit on the assumption that he's going to lose. So his only option is to leave now, quit while you're ahead. That's hilarious, but I just told you that he might win. Like I said, I'm scared that all these big techs, they're going full force. I'm pushing them out. Voter suppression, you want to talk about voter suppression? They're doing it on the Republican side. And all this censorship that we came and express our opinions. I hope I won't get banned for talking about this either. It's unbelievable. So that's a good thing I read a little bit extra to give me more understanding, more clarity that it is a dog-eat-dog world out there, even to the president. So, and then William Barr, I watched that yesterday about clips of that. Or is it William Barr? Attorney General Barr. They try to roast him in the Congress committee hearing. He didn't even have to go there, they said. And he went there, and they just were yelling at him, and it's hilarious. So they don't talk about anything else, and they bring these things up. How it was hilarious. One part it talked about how the lady described a device with chemicals, and it can ruin you, distort you, and it has a lot of bad chemicals in it. Do you approve that? She said. She asked her, do you approve of those methods? And the Attorney General Barr says, you mean pepper spray? Do I approve pepper spray? It was hilarious. So they were just trying to get their 15 seconds of fame. But it's all a show. It definitely is. They're not going to stop it. And they even talked about the Catholic Church. They throw the Catholic Church against us. It's hilarious. He was like, even the Catholic parish did not like you do something of Lafayette Square. I don't even know what happened there, but apparently they dispersed a lot of people. And I think they used tear gas. They did forceful things. And they're like, even the churches didn't agree with your method of stopping it. How do you respond? And he was like, did they think that before or after we stopped the fires of the buildings? And I know for a fact that the Catholic Church defends their building as much as possible. So for them to save that church or whatever church it is, I think we are very grateful. So, like my brother-in-law says, don't get it twisted. Don't mess with the Catholic Church because the truth will always come out. But man, they will throw everything at us. So going to business news. The NASDAQ went down a little by 0.5%. So when we're talking about 0.5%, we're talking about 53 points, it says. So not a lot at all. 53 points of 10,489. So not too much. Down 160 points. The New York Stock Exchange, they're at 12,508. The Dow Jones went down 370 points, which is a 1.33%. And they're standing at 26,156. Business news. Again, this says from Apple News, of course. Apple controls it. Dow drops 400 points amid record GDP decline. So that was 1 hour ago. 1 hour ago. And it already jumped. So it says Dow. I just said the Dow Jones. Yeah, it's down 400 points right now. And you know what that is? 1.5%. I just quoted 1.3. Now it went up to 1.5 right now because it's at 8:50, so it started at 9:30 Eastern Time. So we're at 8:50 Central Time. So the market's open. And they just did this an hour ago. Of course, beginning stages of every open market, open daily, goes up and down. If you ever do investments and invest in something or a stock during off market hours, so the market's not open, so non-open closed market hours, it will tell you in the investment or in the app or whatever you have, it says it will fluctuate. So even though you're going to buy 4 shares of XYZ stock, just remember, and it has a disclaimer, it may go up and down. So I bought it at 150 points or 150 dollars a share, but it might go up and down in the opening. So they tell us already about it. And people are just taking advantage of it, the people who know that, and it makes for good reading. 400 points sounds like a lot, right? So an average recession, this is another thing I learned from Edward Jones, that there's the statistic part, there's got to be at least one recession every year on average, because that's what history shows us. Every year we have in a recession, if I remember correctly, it's about 20% or more. So we're at 1% that went down, way far from a recession. And then there's, as you go lower and lower as the decline, so it's less severe essentially, the possibilities of that goes higher. So there is, and we call it corrections or down essentially, but let's see, it's reached its max, so we're still good on the camera. So that is one big thing you have to look at. It's going to happen. And investors know that. That's why people make money so much on investments. We can't guarantee it based from historical data, but we use historical data to make decisions in the future. So it's crazy how it is. Don't get too frustrated on investments. But yeah, like I said, just here to share the news and more of the information about it. And like I said, it just scares people when you see 400 points. It means nothing. And the percentage I learned from Edward Jones was more, I don't know specifically, but I do know the general idea of it, so I don't want to misquote it. But yeah, the lesser the percentage of the correction or the percentage it goes down of the market is the higher percentage of the possibility that will happen. So recession is about 20%. It goes down, which is a lot. You know, what at 1% it's 400 points, or 1.5% is 400 points. So what is that? 400 times 20, about 15 or 20. What is that? Let's do 18. 18 times 400% or 400 points. So we're at 19,000. 19,000 points compared to 400 is a big problem. So yeah, but we're not even close to there. We're at 400 points. So again, it just looks like a good read, but it means nothing right now. That's the average day, goes up and down essentially. And look at it as we speak. Let's see where we're at now. The Dow Jones, so it went up 1.6. So it's at 435 points. So again, it is going to go up, it's going to go down. It's just going to happen. So don't be alarmed. That's what I say. Put your money in investments. Simple as that. What it is, you talk to your financial advisor or learn on your own and go on the apps and do it yourself. Either one is a good option. U.S. economy suffers worst quarter as GDP shrinks by 32%. That was by The Guardian. So GDP, I don't know too much about the GDP. I do know it's gross domestic product, and we use that based on so many goods sold essentially. So I know it's a good marker. I know some people debate that it's not a really good indicator of the economy's well-being. So it goes either way. Bloomberg virus death toll hits 150,000 even as new. Oh yeah, Bloomberg. We just saw that in the news previously. So the Reuters, Johnson & Johnson starts human study of COVID-19 vaccine after promising something. If I click on it. Then the Sunday Times, Shell drops to record $18.4 billion loss after cutting oil price forecast. That's what's crazy about the oil industry, and that's above my pay grade, but they are basically, how can a company does that? You got to have power to do that, where a company says, okay, we got to get 14 widgets by the year. But they can go in and say, you know what, because of coronavirus, we're not going to hit 14, so let's put it down to 8. Cut it down. And they can do that. And it seems fair, right? But their price, how much money their company is worth in the stock market, is connected to that forecast. So you're literally saying, okay, I know, in other words, you're saying, I know I'm going to lose money because I know we ain't going to get to 14 widgets. So to make matters, better, let's just say it's 8 widgets. So our price per share and our stock price will stay about the same or even go up, go down, but it won't be as impacted. And they have the power to do that. And they said I could just know as a business perspective, it's just dealings 101, negotiations 101. They have something in return for that. They can say, hey, if we go down, all the industry goes down because we are a big power player in this industry. So maybe they have the pull to talk about it and negotiate with governments, say, or even the business side of it in the stock market to legally allow to do that. So it's unbelievable the things we do because they have power. What about a small business owner? Can we do that? Let's just say a IPO that just came. WeWork. Well, WeWork's not tradable right now because they had their craziness last year. But that's crazy too. Look up that story. WeWork back in November 2019. So not too long ago. Less than about 6-7 months ago. How it was worth like 50 billion, and after they did the IPO they learned that they weren't making as much as what they said, and I'm paraphrasing it, so look it up more, and they are now like at 4 billion company within a couple of months. It was unbelievable. So crazy. But what about those small businesses? We can't do that. You can't say, well, because coronavirus is going to hit, because we have no pull. It's just, again, negotiations 101. So I get it, but man, that's crazy. So money talks. And even when they did that from the title, even when they did take out their forecast, which is a prediction, they cut their oil price forecast. They cut it. They still lost 18 billion. So it's unbelievable. But hey, maybe 18 billion is better than over 100 billion they could have lost. So again, it works like a good story. It says Wall Street closes higher after Fed vows more support for virus-battered economy. So yeah, I think look up Erica. She's pretty cool. She's where I get my information from the stimulus package. But yeah, it looks like they might be on the same page for the payments for the checks that they give us, the $1,200 check. And now they're just fidgeting around with everything else as far as I think the payroll tax. They mentioned about they're not seeing eye to eye for the unemployment, the extra boost, which I'm on the Republican side. If you're incentivized to not work, that's wrong. Again, we are made to work. It's just part of life. So there are many people who are free riders that will go along with that. And let me just look up the saint of the day, and we'll see how it goes. Wish I had a book that would say saint of the day. So, saint of the day. Hold on 1 second. We have the saint of the day, Franciscan Media. That was the first thing that popped up. Let's see how it goes. So today, July 30th, is Blessed Solanus Casey. I'll let you see it right there. I don't know if you can see it. The person. July 30th, Blessed Solanus Casey became one of Detroit's best known priests, even though he was not allowed to preach formally or to hear confessions. Really? He's not allowed to hear confession or preach formally? Interesting. Difficulties with studies led to his being limited in some areas of ministry. I wonder how he's been interesting. But he certainly shone in others. This well-beloved friar is a modern-day example of humility and perseverance. Interesting. I want to see the year, though. That's what I like about the year. Man. It doesn't say the year. That's pretty cool. Of Detroit's best-known priest, you became a saint. That's pretty cool. I didn't know that Detroit had a saint. Let's go back here into the main information here. And I want to show my phone. All right, cool. Back into the Google search. So the Vatican News. What? Oh, yeah, right here. Let's say. So let's see here. Saint of the Day presents a daily calendar. Yeah. Where's the Saint of the Day? July 30th. Saint of the Day presents a daily. Yeah, I get it. This is crazy. So as to does not say nothing of the priest I just mentioned. So Saint Peter Calasagus, Bishop of Ravenna and Doctor of the Church, in the 5th century. Wow. When the Italian city was the capital of the Western Roman Empire, he is famous for his homilies, and his preaching earned him the epithet Golden Warded. Saint Peter was declared a doctor of the church in 1729. Cool. But there's 2 of them. There's I think there's multiple ones, but you see, that's what I don't like. Even on Google, you can't get correct information. It's unbelievable. So, okay, so I looked up Catholic Online. So there's more consistency of St. Peter Chrysologus. So that other one that I mentioned of Detroit, because if I remember correctly, there's only been one saint that came out of the U.S. so far. So, and I think it was in like Minnesota or Wisconsin. And that was just pretty recent. So that is crazy. So let's just, I guess, make a correction. That priest, that was Oh, you know what? That was a Franciscan friar. But that's not. So let me read that a little bit more when I go back. So, yes, the Doctor of the Church, feast day is July 30th, born in Imola, Italy in 380. St. Peter was baptized, educated, and ordained a deacon by Cornelius, Bishop of Mary. Wow, that's so cool. 380. So, and here's his picture right here. Interesting. All right, so let's read a little bit more, if they let me. Yeah. From his exceptional oratorical eloquence. In 433, Pope Sixtus III consecrated him Bishop of Ravenna. He practiced many corporal spiritual works of mercy and ruled his flock with utmost diligence and care. He extirpated the last vestiges of paganism and other abuses that had sprouted among his people, cautioning them especially against indecent dancing. Anyone who wishes to frolic with the devil, he remarked, cannot rejoice with Christ. He told the truth. He also counseled the heretic Eutyches, who had asked for his support to avoid causing division, but to learn from other heretics who were crushed when they hurled themselves against the rock of Peter. He died at Imola, Italy in 450, and in 1729 was made a doctor of the church, largely as a result of his simple, practical, and clear sermons, which have come down to us nearly all dealing with gospel subjects. Interesting. Cool. So I guess if I have time, we go back to the other one. Saint of the Day by Franciscan Media. That was the first one that Google popped up, and yeah, I don't get it. But you know what? I think it's just, yeah, July 30th. St. John Vianney, dedicated. I don't see nothing of. No, I think these are all. Yeah, that is crazy. I don't get it. That's not true. This is, who knows, but I take that other saint. But it's still cool. He's a Detroit friar. He might not be a saint, but he's a friar. Again, the qualifications of being a saint, look it up, is really, really cool. Let's look it up together. And we will go from there. So, qualifications of becoming a saint. So, how does someone become a saint? This is by BBC. Oh, great. BBC is a left-wing English TV news show. So how about catholiceducation.com or .org? I'm going to look up that. That seems a little better. We are at, let's see here. There is so much to read. Where is it just a process? Alright, so this is what the BBC sued. So, step 1, wait 5 years or don't. The process to make someone a saint cannot normally start until at least 5 years after their death. Step 2, become a servant of God. Step 3, show proof of life of heroic virtue. Step 4, verified miracles. Step 5, canonization. So that is, verified miracles is kind of a hard thing. The other ones we can kind of see based on their works, but you have to be called by God. And that's a powerful thing. So that's pretty neat. It kind of stands on what I mentioned before as far as the miracle side of it. But try to look it up, read a little bit more. It's big on the second or third option on Google. When you type that in, it mentions, has a long, many paragraphs to read. So feel free to read that. Other than that, it should be the end of today's show or today's episode. Hope you guys have a wonderful day today. Cheers. Have a good cup of coffee. Even if you don't have to, wear a suit. I may be biased because I sell suits, but wear something nice. Tuck in your shirt. Wear a nice dress shirt. Tuck in your polo. Don't wear jeans, or even wear jeans and a nice dress shirt or a nice polo, but tuck it in. Don't wear shorts, khaki shorts, a t-shirt out. It makes you feel better. I'm telling you. It makes you feel like you have a purpose in life. And that's all it comes down to. Those little things in your life that feel like, okay, I can be somebody. Even if I don't have nothing right now, I still have my worth. So it plays with your psyche. If you wear jeans, shorts that are cut off, or jeans pants that are cut off, not a nice pair of jeans, and shorts, a t-shirt, gym clothes, you're just saying that you don't care about your life. That's a very small example. Do you care about your life? Probably, but you just don't motivate anyone. So wear this, you motivate people, you influence people. And that's the main purpose. You have a purpose in life. It might influence someone that you might not even know. So hope you have a wonderful day, and we'll talk again tomorrow. God bless.